Hey peeps, and welcome to Too Cool for Who, the podcast where we unpack how culture, tech, and creativity reshape the cities we live in. I'm your host, Isabel, and today we're diving into London's coolest neighborhood, Shoreditch, a vibrant, quirky, and trendy area where digital storytelling meets creative hustle and where hype, gentrification, and inequality collide in real time. So what happens when a place gets labeled cool? And more importantly, who gets left behind? Shoreditch, street art, old chai lattes, vintage markets, neon-lit co-working spaces. But rewind a bit. This place wasn't always a global creative hotspot. Beneath the murals and pop-up galleries is a deeper story. One about digital storytelling, cultural shifts, and the rising tide of gentrification. We're diving into the rise of creative tech, the power of urban branding, and the flip side of becoming too cool. From the early creatives who shaped it to the new wave being pushed out, this isn't just about Shoreditch. It's a bigger story about how cities change and who gets left out in the process. If you're into culture, cities, and the stories that shape them, stay locked in. Let's go. Back in the early 2000s, Shoreditch was off most people's radar. A gritty industrial part of East London, overlooked and rough around the edges. But then the creatives arrived. Artists and designers chasing cheap rent and big empty warehouses ready to be transformed. Next up, cafes buzzing with energy, bustling markets like Brick Lane, tech startups setting up shop, and of course, the hashtags that made it all explode online. Davies and Sigurdsson, 2013, highlight how creative industries have become a powerhouse for urban regeneration, and Shoreditch is the perfect example. Thanks to digital storytelling and social media, every street art, every pop-up, every vintage gem got amplified, rebranded, and shared globally. Shoreditch stopped being just a place on the map. It became a story, a brand, a symbol of creativity and urban reinvention. Instagram, TikTok, these platforms turn Shoreditch into a non-stop content hub. Newbegin nails it. Digital storytelling is the engine driving creative economies, totally reshaping how we connect with cities. Shoreditch, it became the ultimate backdrop, a carefully curated vibe you could post, tag, and sell. But here's the catch. Digital storytelling sparks creativity, but it also packages it like a product. The vibe turned into merch, the stories a marketing play. And just like that, the rent starts chasing the hype. To get a real feel for Shoreditch evolution, we're speaking to Doug Drew, a media tech pro who's been in the game for a long time and now works in nearby Islington. Hey Doug, and welcome to Too Cool for Who.
Hey there Maria, really happy to be here.
Of course. Alright, let's dive right in. Do you remember your first memory of Shoreditch and how has it changed?
Definitely. I remember when I first came to London, I actually lived in Shoreditch, and it was this really raw, edgy, sort of scrappy place with a great energy. You walk down the street, you're seeing galleries, vintage stalls, graffiti, second-hand clothes. But now it's a little different. It's more like boutiques, cocktail bars, and the Box Park shop on the corner.
And do you think social media and digital storytelling actually shaped Shoreditch image or just jumped on the wave?
I'd say it did shape it. It didn't create the image though, but it definitely put that image on blast. The graffiti, Box Park that I mentioned, are all great for Instagram, really trendy and aesthetic. So people would visit, curate their feeds with edgy Shoreditch sort of vibes. Now that sort of amplified this idea of Shoreditch as a creative hub, but the irony is that same global blast has attracted a corporate commercial side that's now reshaped the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And who is Shoreditch for now in your view? And how does Islington compare?
Honestly, it feels pretty split. Really two groups of Shoreditch. You've got these tourists that I mentioned that go there for these Instagrammable London moments. And then you've got these finance guys just up Liverpool Street, in the warehouse lofts, saying that they're still in the scene, but they're really not. And these warehouse lofts often were creative spaces that have been turned into flats, and the poor creatives have been chased out, and they can't afford that anymore. So they're now in places like Dalston and Hackney.
Yeah.
Islington, bit different. It leans in and accepts it as itself, as being a more polished, upmarket area, which, is a bit more wine bar-y.
So you've seen the creatives being pushed out.
Yes, absolutely.
And is Shoreditch still a place for creative freedom, or is it sliding into commercial territory?
It's a bit of both. There is still creative freedom. You do still see graffiti and murals getting painted, but that same wall where you might see a mural painted becomes an advert next week. So it really is a sort of commercial chasing out the creative sort of situation. Really that kind of digital storytelling element plays into that cycle, where the creativity sparks, it's shared, and then the brands swoop in. So it's a bit more polished than raw these days.
And last one, from someone who's seen it all, is Shoreditch still cool?
It definitely is, but it's not underground anymore. It's mainstream, curated and branded. That grit, those raw stories, they're in other places now where the creators have gone, like Dawson and Hackney and Brixton even. Mm-hmm. But Shoreditch still has its moments, and it's still something we can find authenticity. So it's still cool, just a different type of cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug, for being here, and thank you for your insights.
Thanks very much. Enjoyed it.
That tension Doug highlighted between raw creativity and cold, hard cash. It's the core of Shoreditch transformation. As Shoreditch became a hotspot, the gentrification followed. Rent rose, tech companies moved in, and long-time residents, often from working class and migrant backgrounds, began to leave. Researcher O'Connor warned that creative industries often deepen economic inequality. Shoreditch looks inclusive on the surface, but the skyrocketing rents tell a different story. Banks, 2017, talks about a dual labour market, a few creatives hitting it big, while most hustle through insecure freelance gigs. Here's the hard truth. In Shoreditch, visibility doesn't equal financial security. Lee explains that digital tools open global doors, but local communities often get left behind. So yeah, Shoreditch is a global creative hotspot now, but who is it really for? Shoreditch isn't just a neighborhood anymore. It's a blueprint, a creative powerhouse, a wild mix of digital storytelling, creative buzz, and capitalism running wild. It's a rapid-fire story of reinvention, but also a warning about who gets left out when the rent spikes and hype takes over. Shoreditch serves as a prime example of global challenges between creativity, urban regeneration, and social justice. As the neighborhood becomes more commercial, we need to ask, whose creativity is being supported? Who is being priced out? As Hassing and Young talk about, the importance of balancing local culture, national policy, and global trends. That's the challenge now, keeping Shoreditch and places alike authentic, accessible, and sustainable. Digital storytelling helped make Shoreditch iconic, but in doing so, it changed what Shoreditch is and who it's for. But here's the twist. The next Shoreditch is probably already out there. Less polished, more authentic, off the grid, waiting for its moment. Because real creativity often blooms in the shadows before the world catches on. Thanks for listening. I'm Maria Isabel Mortensen, and this was Too Cool for Who. If this hits home, drop a like, leave a comment, share, and hit me up. Where's your Shoreditch? Catch you next time.